Hello and welcome to the arcade. You know, whenever winter rolls around, one of my favorite things to do is play all of the snowy, icy, or wintry tracks from the Mario Kart series. What can I say? I love my traditions. And sometimes these winter-themed tracks can feel kind of left out of the conversations like, what are some of the best tracks from the Mario Kart series? Simply because they aren't the more traditional tracks that people like to play and vote for in online matches, with maybe a couple exceptions to that. So today I'd like to talk about all of the snowy, icy, wintry themed tracks in the Mario Kart series and talk about why these tracks are so unique and have so much to offer.
First up, we have Vanilla Lake 1 and 2 from Super Mario Kart on the Super Nintendo. Vanilla Lake 1 is a short, icy track surrounded by a frozen lake with tight turns and small ice blocks scattered around. The challenge of this track comes from navigating the slippery surface while avoiding the blocks, which can slow you down, knock you backwards, or ruin your drift line. The track's simplicity masks its tricky design, which comes from all of the small obstacles peppered throughout. Vanilla Lake 2 is similar to the first one, but with an even more fragmented layout, featuring a large open icy section. There are a lot more ice blocks in this one, and the holes in the terrain make it easy to crash or lose speed, forcing you to be precise if you want to maintain the lead and your speed. Even as far back as the SNES, I think it's pretty easy to see the beauty of snowy and icy tracks. They have such a distinct visual style to them, with all that white and blue, with small accent colors that really pop. Some of the best looking snow tracks there are would probably be Mount Wario and Rosalina's Ice World. We'll take a look at these tracks later, but I think even in the early days of Mario Kart, it was easy to see the visual appeal of snowy tracks. There's also a nostalgia attached to snow tracks. Snow isn't something we get a lot of where I live, maybe once or twice every 10 years, but when I was younger, we would sometimes visit my grandparents in West Virginia for Christmas. There was almost always snow in the winter up there, making for a lot of great memories with my siblings and cousins, playing in the snow, making snowmen, having snowball fights, and just exploring the snow-covered mountain. Speaking of mountains, Merry Mountain is a great new track from the series that we'll look at later that really captures not just the snowy, icy nostalgia, but the Christmas spirit as well. Up next is Frappe Snowland from Mario Kart 64. This is a nighttime course with snow actively falling while you're driving, which makes for a nice scenic touch. This course has a lot to love with this open section of the track, which allows you to go some distance into the snow on the sides, the jumps and changes in elevation, the wide open area with the snowmen, and the final stretch with the ice canyon and then the wooden bridge. The music and the nighttime aesthetic add a lot of atmosphere to this one too. Next up we have Sherbet Land, which is, I'm sure, one that all of us have either played or seen. It's one that was remade in a future game, even though the original is still full of charm. The penguins that you have to avoid, the secret item box behind the rock, the icy caves at the end, and of course the potential danger of falling into the frigid water on the left side of most of the track. This one is pretty iconic and still a ton of fun to play. One of the most unique things about snow and ice tracks in Mario Kart is how they force you to deal with uncommon mechanics, sliding to be specific. Most of the ice-covered tracks cause your kart to have a lot less traction and handling, forcing you to take turns slower or learn how to turn into the slide even if it means risking a crash or a fall. In the early days, and even more so nowadays, a lot of snow tracks offer variety in course design with things like ramps, jumps, elevation changes going up or downhill, and even some tracks having snow sport-related things like on DK Summit and Mount Wario. Basically, anytime you're playing a snow track, you know you're in for a unique gameplay gimmick or unique course design. Next up we have Snowland from Mario Kart Super Circuit. This one got a nice little remake in Mario Kart 8, but the original still has its charm. For one thing, this track has awesome music. I also really like the jagged ice mountains in the background, and the snow-covered trees are a nice addition here in this original version. And of course, it has similar mechanics to other icy tracks with a slippery raceway, holes in the ice leading to hazardous water, and snowmen to block your path. Even in the original, there's snow falling, which is an impressive graphical enhancement for the GBA at the time this game came out. Whenever you're playing through Grand Prix or even playing online, snow or ice tracks are a really fun thing that mixes up the traditional course selection. If you've never played the specific Mario Kart game before, or you're playing online, you may never know when a snowy track might pop up, and they force you to think outside the box in a lot of cases, which can be a fun and refreshing change of pace. A lot of snow tracks also have enhanced risk versus reward factors, like taking slippery shortcuts or trying to do tricks off snow bumps or half pipes. Next up is Sherbet Land from Mario Kart Double Dash. This is, I think, the first really colorful snow track, with lots of accent colors in the background. The design of this course makes it really satisfying to drive on, especially considering how much variety this track has. It may feel a little long for some people, as I think it exceeds that normal 2-minute mark for most courses, but it's such a joy to look at that it doesn't really matter to me. And there are some really great challenges on this one, like the skating shy guys that act as moving obstacles, and the icy cave section that really puts your icy track navigation skills to the test. Another great thing about snow tracks has gotta be the music. The soundtracks from almost all of the snow or ice tracks are so memorable, and they don't all have to be one style. Frappe Snowland is relaxing yet upbeat, and the soundtrack from Mount Wario is dynamic and changes with each section of the race. Snow and ice tracks can either be intense, atmospheric, relaxing, or otherworldly. There's a huge range of music that goes along with these great tracks. Up next is a favorite of mine, DK Pass from Mario Kart DS. This is a mountainous snow track with steep climbs, winding roads, and a snowball hazard that rolls down the slopes. Avoiding the giant snowball, maintaining speed on uphill sections, and drifting effectively on narrow, icy paths all add up to a pretty significant challenge on this track, making it one of the more fun ones to go back to in Mario Kart DS. One of the really cool things about snowy tracks is that they offer a sense of adventure with their fantasy-like settings, blending realism and imagination. Whether you're racing under the Northern Lights in Vancouver Velocity, or exploring icy caverns in Rosalina's Ice World, the snow and ice just piques the imagination like no other type of track can really do. The unique settings of these wintry worlds really makes the snow and ice tracks stand out from the crowd. Next we have DK Summit from Mario Kart Wii. This one is a snowboarding themed track with half pipes, steep drops, and a ski resort vibe. Mastering the half pipes to gain boosts while avoiding losing control, navigating sharp turns on the descent, and keeping speed through snowy terrain make this one of the more challenging and dynamic tracks in Mario Kart Wii. I don't think I'm alone in thinking that a lot of the snow tracks are some of my absolute favorites. You'll see a lot of people vote for snow tracks in online matches, and whenever I play Mario Kart with family or friends, we pretty much always play at least one or two wintry tracks during our game time. Wintry tracks have this distinct identity within the Mario Kart series that makes them so memorable and infinitely replayable. Next up is a newer favorite of mine, Rosalina's Ice World from Mario Kart 7. This track is a visually stunning icy course set in space, featuring underwater sections and slippery ice patches. The icy turns require precise handling, and the underwater section changes the physics, which adds a ton of variety to the gameplay. I was never really fond of this track when I first played through Mario Kart 7 because of the immense challenge of it, but it's grown on me after its release in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. And it has an atmosphere that is really unmatched. Up next is my absolute favorite course from the entire series, Mount Wario from Mario Kart 8. Mount Wario is a point-to-point downhill course that feels like a skiing race, starting from a snowy mountaintop and ending in a crowded ski lodge. The track features no laps, just continuous sections with varying terrain, including icy patches, slalom gates, and a thrilling forest section. It feels like a test of adaptability and endurance, being one of the longer and more varied courses in the entire game. Next up is Merry Mountain. This track is set in a festive winter village with twinkling lights, snowy slopes, and a cozy holiday feel. It includes a climb up a mountain with really tight curves, anti-gravity sections, and downhill speed boosts. It's easy to get caught in the holiday scenery and lose focus. Then we have Vancouver Velocity, which is a city course inspired by winter in Vancouver, with icy streets, a hockey rink section, and views of the northern lights. Because this is one of the city tracks, it's one of those that changes between laps, offering new paths and new hazards. The ice-covered streets require careful maneuvering, and the variety of this track keeps you on your toes.
So there we go. That's all of the snowy and icy and wintry themed tracks from the Mario Kart series. I think the snowy tracks have such a unique appeal and offer some much needed variety into the games that make them always feel like a breath of fresh air. Whether it's the track variety, new challenges, or simply mood and aesthetic, anytime a snowy track comes along, I think all of us can agree that it ends up being a good time or at least a nice change of pace. But what do you think? Do you like snowy tracks as much as I do? Do you have a favorite snowy course? I'd love to hear from you. And as always, until next time, thank you so much for watching.